You've seen your finches turn from bright red to dull brown. You always thought it was seasonal. But what if it's a silent health warning? Watch as a single feather reveals a hidden infection. Stay to the end, because you'll learn what it means when your birds go from vibrant to invisible. Number 1. You've always assumed that when your finches look duller in the fall, it's just the seasons changing. But here's the twist. That faded color might actually be a sign of illness, not just the weather. House finches, for example, lose their bright red feathers when infected with a bacterial disease called Mycoplasma gallisepticum. This isn't a natural color shift, it's a health crisis hiding in plain sight. Your yard might be full of birds that look like they're preparing for winter, but some might actually be in trouble. What this means for you is that you can catch early signs of disease by paying attention to color changes, not just the time of duller changes. It's easy to think that birds simply lose their vibrancy as temperatures drop, but this isn't always the case. In fact, a 2015 study published in PNAS found that the spread of Mycoplasma gallisepticum is more common in urban areas where bird feeders are densely packed. This bacteria spreads quickly, and its effects on finches are visible, especially in their feathers. Infected birds don't just look drab, they may also have swollen or runny eyes, which is a sign of conjunctivitis. These symptoms aren't subtle, but they're often overlooked. You might be watching your yard closely, but you might not be looking for the right clues. The next time you spot a finch with dull colors, take a closer look. It could be more than just the season changing. The next time you see a finch that looks out of place, you might be witnessing the early signs of a serious infection. It's not just about the color, it's also about the eyes, the behavior, and the overall energy of the bird. These subtle changes can be the key to identifying illness in your backyard wildlife. But this is just the beginning. There's more to the story of how birds change with the seasons, and some of it might surprise you even more. Stay tuned to uncover the next myth that's been hiding in your own backyard. Number 2. You always thought that dull feathers meant a sick bird, but actually, it can be a sign of stress. Yes, stress. Birds like house finches can lose their vibrant color when their bodies are under pressure. This isn't always a sign of disease. It's more about how their bodies are managing daily challenges. A 2018 study in the Journal of Avian Biology showed that stress can impact feather color by affecting carotenoid intake. So, if you spot a once colorful bird looking faded, it may not be ill, but it might be feeling the weight of the world. What this means for you is that you can support your birds by reducing stressors in your yard. Stress doesn't just come from disease. It can stem from overcrowding, predation threats, or even an unbalanced diet. Your backyard is a microcosm of their world, and every factor affects their well-being. For example, if your feeders are too crowded, birds might feel pressured, and their feathers can reflect that anxiety. A lack of quality food can also lead to dull plumage, even if the bird is otherwise healthy. This subtle shift in appearance isn't always dramatic, but it's a silent signal that something is off. It's a reminder that your yard's environment has a direct impact on the health and happiness of the birds that visit. So, next time you spot a finch with less than vibrant feathers, don't automatically assume the worst. It could be a sign that your yard is more stressful than you think. By offering a variety of food sources, reducing competition, and creating safe spaces, you can help your feathered friends maintain their natural brilliance. And the best part, you don't have to wait for a dramatic change. You can catch these signs early and make a difference. Just remember, sometimes what looks like a problem is actually a clue. And that clue leads to a bigger mystery we'll unravel next. Number 3. You always thought your finches' vibrant reds and oranges were a fixed trait, something they're born with and never change. But here's the twist. Their color is actually a direct reflection of what they eat. House finches get their brilliant hues from carotenoids found in foods like sunflower seeds and safflower seeds. So if your feeder is filled with protein-rich but carotenoid-poor options, your birds might end up looking more like a muted version of themselves. This means your yard's beauty isn't just about genetics, it's a daily choice in what you put out. You might have noticed that some finches look more colorful than others, even within the same species. This isn't random, it's directly tied to their diet. Research from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology confirms that birds fed a diet low in carotenoids display duller plumage over time. Think of it like a living painting. The more pigments they consume, the more vivid their colors become. So if you want your backyard to be a showcase of feather brilliance, you need to be intentional about the types of seeds and foods you offer. What this means for you is simple. Your feeder isn't just a food source, it's a canvas for your bird's natural artistry. By choosing feeds rich in carotenoids, you're not only supporting their health, but enhancing the visual appeal of your yard. But here's what you might not know. The effects of diet on color can be subtle, and you might not see the full impact until a few weeks later. Keep an eye on those finches. Their feathers might be telling a story you've never noticed before. Number 4. You always thought that if a bird suddenly looked paler or duller, it was a sure sign of illness or stress. But what if we told you that in some species, like the house finch, color changes are actually a normal, even healthy part of their life cycle? Male house finches are known for their brilliant red and orange hues, but female finches can also show dramatic shifts in color, and it's not always a bad thing. In fact, these changes might be perfectly natural, especially during breeding seasons when females take on new roles and responsibilities. A 2016 study published in The Auk revealed that female house finches may lighten in color after breeding, not because they're sick, but because it helps them conserve energy and stay hidden from predators while they're nesting and caring for their young. This color shift is a natural adaptation, not a signal of poor health. What this means for you is that if you spot a female finch with a more muted appearance, it might be a sign of her preparing for or already in the midst of raising a brood, not an indicator of illness or distress. So next time you see a finch that looks less vibrant, don't immediately assume the worst. Instead, consider the timing and context. Is it breeding season? Is the bird actively nesting or feeding young? These changes are a part of their survival strategy, not a sign of trouble. The next myth we'll break will challenge something you might think you know about birds and their feathers, and it might surprise you just as much. Number 5. You've probably seen a finch in your yard that looked duller than usual and immediately worried it was sick. But what if I told you that some finches naturally lose their vibrant colors in the winter months? This isn't a sign of illness, but a normal change in their appearance. House finches, for example, may appear less colorful during the colder seasons due to shifts in their molting patterns and a reduced intake of carotenoid-rich foods like seeds and fruits. So the next time you spot a muted-looking finch, you might be looking at a perfectly healthy bird simply adapting to the season. What this means for you is that you can relax and enjoy watching them without jumping to colder seasons due to shifts in their molting patterns and a reduced intake of carotenoid-rich foods. You might be surprised to learn that a 2019 study published in the Journal of Field Ornithology confirmed that many finch species naturally sport less vibrant plumage during the winter. This isn't a sign of weakness or sickness, it's an evolutionary response to the environment. Without the abundance of colorful pigments from their usual diet, their feathers simply don't shine as brightly. This change in appearance helps them blend in more with their surroundings and conserve energy. So instead of rushing to help a finch you think is unwell, you can now appreciate this natural transformation as part of their seasonal rhythm. This is an evolutionary response to the environment. It's easy to mistake a finch's dull winter plumage for a sign of poor health, especially when you're used to seeing them in their vibrant spring and summer colors. But the truth is, this natural change is a normal, even necessary part of their life cycle. Think of it as their own version of a winter coat, helping them survive the season. So the next time you see a finch that looks less colorful, take a moment to consider the time of year before making assumptions. This revelation could change how you observe and care for the birds that visit your yard. And just wait, there's another surprising twist coming up in the next section. Number 6. You've always assumed that a duller color in your finches means they're sick or malnourished. But what if it's just their age? As they get older, their feathers can lose their vibrancy. This isn't always a sign of health problems. It's part of their natural life cycle. A study from the University of Washington shows that older finches may gradually lose their bright colors due to changes in their body's ability to retain pigments. This isn't a red flag, it's simply the cost of growing older in the wild. You might have watched a once brilliant male zebra finch fade into a more muted version of itself over the years. This isn't necessarily a sign of disease or decline, it's a natural process. As finches age, their bodies produce less melanin and carotenoids, the pigments responsible for their dazzling colors. This shift in hue is similar to how human hair turns gray over time. You can still expect these birds to be active and healthy, even if they're not as colorful as they once were. This is just another reminder that beauty can change with time, not always with loss. Next time you see a less vivid bird in your yard, don't automatically assume the worst. This change might be the result of aging, not illness. It's a subtle but important clue that your backyard residents are simply growing older. What this means for you is that you can continue to enjoy your feathered friends without fear. Their colors may fade, but their presence is still valuable. And just like the colors in your own life, they can change without losing their meaning. What else have you believed about your birds that might be completely wrong? You've always watched your finches with quiet pride, thinking their vibrant colors were a sign of their health and happiness. But what if those colors were more than just beauty? What if they were a silent language, a story of survival, stress, and even sorrow? Every shift in hue is a whisper from the bird, a message you've been listening to all along without understanding. They've been trying to tell you something, and now you finally know how to listen. You always believed that the brightest finch was the healthiest, but what if their colors were also a cry for help? What if they were showing you their fear, their struggle, their resilience? You've been part of their story all along, without ever realizing it. Now, as you watch them with new eyes, you feel a deeper connection, not just to the birds but to the world they live in, and the unspoken language that has always been there, waiting for you to understand. Next time you see your finches change color, think about what they're telling you, not just about their health, but their lives. Have you ever seen a sudden change in your backyard birds and wondered what it meant? Share your story in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.